My name's Ethan. I built that house with my bare hands, every nail, every board, every memory. But one day, my own child looked me in the eye and said, "Go start over," like I was just some old man in the way. Then they took my keys and gave the deed to their spouse. I didn't fight. I walked. But what happened next? That part, even I didn't see coming. I woke up, just like I always do. Early. Before the sun has a chance to stretch across the Georgia sky, the air still held that early autumn crispness, quiet and cool. I shuffled to the kitchen, barefoot, every floorboard creak beneath me whispering memories. Coffee went on, same way every morning. Black, strong, no sugar. I stood by the window while it brewed, watching the wind move through the trees in the yard. I trimmed myself for over 30 years. My house, my rules, my peace. This house ain't just walls and a roof. It's Rose's laugh echoing through the hall when I surprised her with flowers. It's the worn armrest on the couch where we held our grandbaby for the first time. I built the porch swing with my bare hands, planted that fig tree out back the year Delano graduated high school. Every corner of this place has a story carved into it. Delano, my boy, my only child. He moved back in with his wife, Malika, said it'd be temporary while they figured things out. That was 5 years ago. They took the master bedroom. I didn't argue. Said it was just until they got back on their feet. But lately, there's been a shift. The way they look at me, talk to me, like I'm a tenant overstaying a lease I never signed. That morning, the air inside felt different. Still, too still. "Dad, can we talk for a second?" Delano called from the living room. His voice was stiff, like he was rehearsing something. I walked in slow. Malika sat on the couch, legs crossed, hands folded like she was conducting a meeting. Delano stood behind her, arms crossed. That was new. Malika smiled, thinly. "We've been thinking. It might be time for new beginnings. For all of us." I blinked. "What were you saying?" Delano looked at the floor, couldn't meet my eyes. "You deserve peace, Pops. A place that's simpler, easier to manage." She reached over and handed me a manila envelope. Inside, a one-way bus ticket, 3 printed brochures for senior living communities. I stared at that envelope like it had teeth. "Y'all serious right now?" My voice didn't even sound like mine. Malika's tone didn't shift. "We just want what's best for everyone. Change can be a good thing." I didn't respond. My legs moved on their own, carrying me back to my room. When I opened the door, I stopped cold. Boxes. Taped up, labeled. Dad, clothes. Dad, tools. Like I was a houseguest being gently escorted out. Not a word about this before today. Yet here it was organized. Planned. The real kicker? Rosa's photo was missing. My old Navy medals, gone. Like they picked through my life and kept what mattered to them. I didn't yell, didn't cry. I just sat on the edge of my bed. Watched the sunlight dance across the floorboards I refinished with Rosa one summer. My hands on that wood. Her humming beside me. So this is how it ends, I thought. Not with a bang, with tape and labels. I remembered helping Delano fix his first car in that same driveway. Hood up, grease on our faces, laughter in our lungs. He used to call me his hero. When did that change? They'd been planning this for weeks, maybe months. Every little moment I thought was just odd suddenly made sense. Later that afternoon, Malika tapped gently on the door frame. "We can help you move tomorrow. Make it smooth." She smiled, relieved, like we were finishing some overdue chore. Delano stood behind her, nodding. "We'll keep the house in the family, Dad. I promise. We'll honor everything this place meant." My chest burned, but I stayed calm. My voice, low, steady. "Keep it then." I stood. Slowly. My knees protested, but I didn't show it. I walked past them, out the front door. The porch swing still swayed slightly from the wind. My truck was parked where it always sat, right under the crepe myrtle. I climbed in, closed the door, turned the key. I had no plan, no destination. Just knew I wasn't sleeping another night under that roof. As the engine rumbled, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No, not unknown. Malika's work number. I wasn't planning to answer. But something in my gut told me, pick up that call. I sat in my truck, hands on the steering wheel, engine running but not moving. The phone buzzed again. Same number, Malika's work line. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something instinct maybe told me to pick up. Mr. Rayford? A woman's voice, nervous, soft but urgent. You don't know me. I work with Malika. My name's Nia. I didn't say a word, just listened. I probably shouldn't be calling, she said. But I saw something today, some paperwork Malika filed. It didn't look right. Still silent. I think she may have forged your name. On the deed transfer. I overheard her say the house was handled, and I checked the file. The signature, it doesn't match the ones I've seen from you before. I leaned back in my seat, phone still pressed to my ear. Breath slowing like gravity just doubled. You mean, she took my home before I even packed up bag? I just thought, you should know, Nia said, voice trembling. I don't want trouble. Please don't tell her I called. I hung up without promising anything, but I knew I wouldn't betray that call. Not yet. I pulled off the lot and drove. Not far. Just enough to put some space between me and everything I thought I knew. The sun was dipping low when I found the old diner off Decatur, the one I used to hit after church, back when. Rosa still hummed gospel on the ride home. I sat at a booth near the window. The vinyl was cracked. The waitress still wore the same perfume. Al Green was playing low through dusty speakers. I pulled out the envelope they gave me, laid the documents flat on the table. The lights above flickered slightly, casting shadows across the papers. I studied the signatures. The way the R in Rayford curved wrong. Too neat, too perfect. The date was stamped just last week, but I hadn't signed a thing in months. If she forged this, she didn't just steal a house, I whispered. She stole Rosa's promise. Can I get you something, baby? Miss. Geneva, the waitress, her voice like honey and tired bones. I looked up. Just coffee, ma'am. Her eyes lingered on the papers. Don't let pride keep you from fighting back, she said. Even a quiet man got thunder if you listen close. She walked off. I pulled out a napkin and started scribbling notes, details, dates, questions. Then I remembered the safe deposit box downtown. Still had the original mortgage paperwork in it. Rosa insisted we keep copies somewhere no one could touch. I stared out the window, watching the sun vanish behind the buildings, and for a moment, I wasn't a man who'd lost his home. I was a man remembering how to fight. I thought about Malika. First time she came to the house, she called me Pops, brought sweet potato pie, said it was from her mother's recipe. I remember thinking, she's got a good heart. Turns out, she had a good mask. All those times she offered to handle the paperwork for me, I thought it was kindness. Now it felt like a setup. The devil don't knock loud, I murmured. Sometimes they hum gospel before they take your chair. I could feel it, something colder than sadness settling in me. Not hate, not rage, just a deep, still resolve. I wasn't going to confront Delano. Not yet. Let them think they won. I raised him better than this, I said out loud. But maybe she raised him worse. The night came heavy and fast. I checked into a motel near the bus station, paid in cash. Room smelled like bleach and dust. I unpacked only what mattered: Rosa's photo, the envelope, and my father's pocket watch. Set them on the nightstand like guards, while I thought. I grabbed a pen and paper, wrote down 3 things. Find proof. Stay quiet. Don't let anger lead. Across town, I imagined them. Delano and Malika, wine glasses clinking, her laughing. Him nodding along, letting her steer. They probably thought I was halfway out of Georgia by now. I stood in front of the mirror. My face looked older tonight, but my eyes, they were sharp, awake. You can't steal what God already gave me, the truth, I whispered to my reflection. Picked up my phone, scrolled past Delano's number, stopped at a different name, Marcus, family attorney. Old friend. Retired now, but once told me, if you ever need something done quiet, you come to me first. I hit dial. Marcus, I said when he answered. I think it's time I cash in that favor you owe me. Marcus's office hadn't changed a bit. Same dusty jazz posters on the wall, same creaky ceiling fan slicing slow through the morning air. I stepped in, closed the door behind me, and he looked up from a cup of coffee with that old familiar stare, half concern, half calculation. You look like you've been through a storm, brother, he said, standing to shake my hand. More like a flood, I muttered, sinking into the chair across from him. My legs felt heavier than usual, like the weight of what I knew hadn't settled in yet. I laid out the documents on his desk, the envelope, the fake smile of bureaucracy. He didn't ask questions right away, just took a slow sip of coffee and started reading. The notary here. This ain't the one I used when we drew up your will. I remember. That woman. She moved out of state years ago, Marcus said, tapping the corner of the page. He squinted at a signature, then paused. What is it? I asked. He didn't look up at me. I've seen this name before. Same notary. Popped up in a case couple months back. Family trust dispute. Malika's cousin, if I'm remembering right. That made my gut turn. So this wasn't just about me. This had patterns, footsteps. They didn't just see a house, I said quietly. They saw a man too old to fight back. Marcus leaned back. You still got copies of your original mortgage? In a safe deposit box, I nodded. Rosa made me keep everything. You'll need those. This ain't just shady, it's criminal. But we can't go public yet. You show your cards now, you lose the hand. I sat still, chewing on that. Felt wrong to wait, but I knew he was right. They play long games, he said. But we play smart ones. I left the office feeling both sharper and heavier. The fall air had bite in it now, crisp enough to wake you up, but still soft on the skin. As I rounded the corner toward my truck, I saw something that made my feet slow. Delano's car. That same black sedan, parked across the street. He wasn't alone. There was a man with him, bigger guy, tan coat. Didn't look like he belonged in a neighborhood like mine. They were walking into a bank. No smiles, no talking. I stayed across the street, pretending to scroll through my phone. The old me would have shouted across the road, I thought. The new me takes notes. I angled my phone just enough to snap a photo. Got both their faces. Not sure what I'd do with it yet. But I'd learned something from Rosa's old stories. Don't ask for justice without a record. Back in my truck, I felt the anger wanting to climb. But I kept it in my chest, caged, until it turned cold enough to handle. That night, Marcus and I met again. Small soul food spot. On the edge of town, one of those places where the gravy was thicker than the walls. Cornbread, collard greens, fried catfish. The kind of food that tried to hug your bones. They've got help, Marcus said between bites. Insider at the county clerk's office. Someone slipping paperwork through. I chewed slow. She always said she had real estate connects. I didn't think she meant forgery. He nodded. This ain't about just one house. This is a string. And if we don't catch it right, you could get tied into something deeper. What do? We build a file. Quiet. Timestamps. Originals. Calls. Let 'em bury themselves. He wiped his hands. Looked me square in the eye. If they forged your papers, they'll forge your silence next. I smiled for the first time in days. It wasn't warm, just real. Then I'll make sure the truth can speak louder than any lie. Later that night, I was back in the motel. The light from the bedside lamp hit Rosa's photo just right. Her eyes looked like they were waiting on me to do something right. Like always. They thought I'd break easy. Rosa, I whispered. They forgot whose blood runs in me. The old pocket watch clicked on the nightstand. I'd wound it before bed every night since Pops died. The sound used to bring comfort. Now it brought urgency. I flipped open my notebook, wrote 3 things. Step 1, find the notary. Step 2, trace payments. Step 3, stay silent until it hurts. I didn't need revenge. I needed facts, cold ones. Ones that could speak even when I didn't. Just as I capped the pen, the phone buzzed. Voicemail. From Delano. I sat still for a beat before pressing play. Dad, we need to talk. It's not what you think. For a second, I almost believed him, until I heard her voice in the background. The invitation rang in my mind like a bell with no echo. Family dinner this Friday. Would be good if you came. Malika's. Text was polite, but sterile. No warmth, no apology. Just a hint that I was expected on their terms. I stared at it long after the phone went dark. I'd lost my home. Now they invite me out as if nothing changed. It smelled like control. His warning echoed, "They don't invite you to heal, Ethan. They invite you to direct the narrative." I told myself I'd walk in like I belong, even if tonight the whole room disagreed. That evening, I found myself pressing my best shirt, careful, with every crease. This was the one Rosa once praised. As I ironed, her voice came back soft. "Walk in like it's yours," she'd said. I repeated that to myself. The restaurant's doors opened to quiet luxury soft lighting, polished floors, hushed voices. I entered, walked past the hostess, and sat down at the table. 12 seats, fine silverware. The seat at the far end bore my name, not Dad, not Papa, just Ethan. My heart stilled. I realized then I was a guest in a story I once wrote. Dinner began, small talk, safe smiles. Then, Delano stood, glass raised. "I want to thank everyone who helped us build this new chapter," he said. His eyes never met mine. One after another, guests gave toasts, praise for vision, resilience, sacrifice, gratitude for support. None of it for me. Then Malika stood, smiling, too bright. "Before dessert, we'd like to share something special, a tribute to legacy." A waiter rolled out a framed collage, photos framed in gold, celebrating family memories. I leaned forward. Rosa's face was there, her smile, her light, but there was no photo of me, not one. The space where I should have been was cold and blank. My shoulders, my laugh, my years, they were gone. My chest ached, but I remained still. They planned this to humiliate me, I thought. I picked up the frame. I turned it toward Delano gently. "Is this all the family you see?" Delano looked down. His cheeks shifted faintly. Malika held her posture. "We used the most recent photos," she said, voice soft and firm. "You haven't exactly been around, have you?" The room went silent. Silverware rested on plates. A candle flickered. I nodded once. Set the frame down. Good to know where I stand. Memory flickered. Rosa's birthday dinner. Delano grabbed the check. "You've done enough, Dad." He meant it then. I thought it was tribute. Now I see. It was goodbye. The laughter attempted to resume. Voices rose again. I stayed quiet. Then I heard steps. Shoes on tile. A voice I didn't expect. "Evenin', folks." Marcus. He walked in sharply. Briefcase in hand. Posture firm. Heads turned. My heart didn't pound, something else did. He came to me, leaned low. "Found something you need to see. Not here." I stood up, carefully. I turned toward the room. "Thank y'all for dinner," I said, voice low but clear. "Enjoy your night." No one moved. No one said goodbye. I walked out beside Marcus. Back at his office, we shut the door. He opened a manila folder. Inside emails, memos, notary records. He handed me one email. I read, "Make it clean. He'll be too proud to fight." The date matched the week of tonight's dinner. They coordinated it all. My jaw clenched. I looked at Marcus. "They're banking on me staying silent," I said. No anger, no tears, just a quiet flame. He didn't say a thing. I closed the folder. "If pride is what they counted on," I said, voice steady. "They forgot who taught them how to hold their heads high." I sent the message before noon, knowing full well it might sit unread or ignored, but I sent it anyway. Westbrook Park, 2 o'clock. Just family. That was all. No explanations. No questions. I didn't ask. I summoned. That park had seen better days, but it still held echoes of ours: cookouts, water balloons, Rosa dancing, barefoot on the grass while Marvin Gaye played through an old speaker. I picked that place because it used to mean home. This time, it would mean something else. Marcus offered to come. I should be there. You don't know how they'll react. I do, I told him. That's why I'm going alone. I put on a crisp white shirt, pressed just right, tucked in, clean shoes. Rosa's watch around my wrist, ticking steady. Not a funeral suit, but close. I wasn't mourning. I was preparing. By the time I parked under the shade near the basketball courts, the air smelled of cut grass and old memories. I sat at that worn wooden table, folder in hand. I could hear kids laughing in the distance. The breeze played with the edge of a paper sticking out the folder. They came late, walking slow, like they were already bracing for something. Malika with those designer shades, Cynthia clutching her handbag like it held her dignity. Delano, he kept his sunglasses on too, and that quiet arrogance I used to mistake for confidence. I nodded once. No smiles. Have a seat. Malika stood, arms folded. You dragged us out here for this? I slid the folder across the table. I didn't drag you. You came because somewhere deep down you know this ain't right. Delano scoffed. Cynthia looked off toward the trees. Inside the folder, property transfer forms with my forged signature, a notary stamp from a license that had expired 2 years back, time-stamped emails. Printouts Marcus found through contacts who still respected the law. You're reaching, Malika said. You gonna play detective now? I didn't look away. No need. The truth ain't hard to find when it's standing right in front of you. Then, I added one more page. I let it fall gently, but it hit harder than any shout. An email thread. Malika's address. Her words. Do it before he wakes up to what's his. The wind stopped. So did Malika's breath. Delano spoke, his voice low. You don't even live there anymore, Dad. You were just holding on to a memory. I looked at him. That memory paid your tuition, bought your fiancée that ring, fed your firstborn. Every brick in that house tells a story that built you. People on nearby benches started to shift. Ears perked, eyes turned. I didn't care. Let them hear. I'm giving y'all one shot, I said. Undo the transfer. Sign a peace agreement. Malika's name comes off that title. Delano laughed dry, nervous. You wouldn't go that far. You wouldn't drag your family through that. You already dragged me out of my own home, I said. All I'm doing is walking the same path back. I pushed a document across. Here are the terms. Return everything. Public apology. Set things right. Cynthia muttered something under her breath. Malika rolled her eyes. You don't have the stomach to fight us, old man. I stood, slowly. Maybe not, but I've got something more useful than that memory. And memory don't fade, just because y'all pretend it didn't happen. Then I walked. Past them. Past the whispers. Past the park benches where neighbors had started listening in. A boy no older than 16 looked up from his phone. That was your house they took? Yeah, I said. He nodded. They're wrong for that. I kept walking, didn't look back. A mural caught my eye, a fresh painting of elders leading children toward a sunrise. It wasn't done yet. One elder's face was blank. The paintbrush lay on the ground beneath it. I stood there for a while, letting the wind settle in my chest. Dignity don't need noise, I thought. It just needs a backbone. Later that evening, the motel room was quiet. I turned off the TV, sat at the edge of the bed. My phone buzzed. Marcus. They laughed, he said. Pretended like it was a joke, but they're shaken, I can tell. Let 'em laugh, I said. That silence they heard today, that was the last time I ever asked. The night came down slow. I went to check the safe, opened it carefully. Everything was there, documents, photos, keys. But the sticky note with Rosa's initials? Gone. A ping from my phone broke the silence. Bank alert. Suspicious login attempt. Linked to a device under Malika's name. I stared at the screen, jaw tight. "They're not laughing," I whispered. "They're scrambling." My fingers hovered over the safe. I closed it again. Then came a text from Marcus. Just one line. They just made their biggest mistake. I showed up before the sun even finished rising. The morning air carried a strange chill, like the ground itself knew what I came for. I parked just down the street, took my time walking up that cracked sidewalk I used to sweep every Saturday morning. The gate was chained, locked up like a stranger's place. Grass high, weeds climbing the porch rails. But it wasn't the mess that got me, it was the stump. Right by the mailbox. They'd cut down the tree Rosa and I planted the day she passed. I stood there, staring at what was left. Roots still deep, but the trunk gone. Rosa whispered back in my mind, like it was yesterday. "Plant this so our children always remember their roots." Guess someone didn't like roots. I stepped through a loose part of the fence. My feet knew every crack in that ground. Walked to the window and peered in. Furniture I didn't recognize. But the smell of old pine floors, mine, still lingered. My breath tightened. They weren't just living in my house. They were living off my history. Later that morning, I headed over to the county records office. Cleaned myself up, collar pressed, and walked straight through security like I belonged, because I did. Marcus met me by the back hallway, a stack of manila folders and maps laid out like a war plan. He looked up and nodded. They filed new zoning requests, backdated. I didn't answer, just opened the top file. Pages of ownership transfers, loopholes, shell corporations. Then it hit me. "That check," I said. "What check?" Marcus leaned in. "The one I sent last fall, for Malik's school tuition." He shuffled through a different folder, pulled up the digital copy. There it was. My name on the check, but not on the ledger. "Received by Carter Holdings LLC, Malika's Corporation," Marcus confirmed. I gritted my teeth. They took the money I sent for my grandson and funneled it through their fake business? He didn't answer. Didn't need to. A clerk walked past, pausing at the file in front of me. "This was never under your name after 2019, she said softly. "It's like your name was wiped." I leaned on the table, palms flat. They didn't just steal my house. They rewrote my story. We left the records office and drove straight back to the property. Terry was already waiting by the curb. He waved us over, pointing at the stump. "They cut it down last week. Said it was in the way." Malika and Marseille pulled up just minutes later. Her car door slammed. "You again?" she snapped. Marcus kept his head down, pulling legal docs from a folder. Terry, bless him, stepped forward. "I saw him plant that tree. I saw him pour that porch cement with his bare hands." Marseille rolled his eyes. "You senile now, Terry? Stay out of this." I didn't say a word, just looked Marseille dead in the eye. Let the silence hold. Malika tried to jump in, raising her voice. I lifted a hand. "You don't get to speak over truth." Neighbors started gathering. Folks from across the street, old friends, folks I used to grill hot dogs for on 4th of July. The crowd got quiet. Marcus handed over a document. "We're filing a temporary restraining order. All transactions on this property are frozen until the hearing." Delano, standing just behind Malika, laughed. Under his breath. "Y'all think this little paperwork gonna scare us? We'll just wait you out." I stepped forward. "Don't mistake patience for weakness." Marcus flipped another page. "One more thing. County tax records still show the original blueprint, Ethan's blueprint. The additions, the remodeling, the zoning changes, not legally recorded." Marcus looked up. "They forced you out, then tried to bury the evidence." I nodded once. "They stole more than walls. They stole my foundation." That's when Malika's voice broke. She stepped forward, shaky, but defiant. "This is our home now, whether you like it or not." I met her eyes. A home built on lies is no home at all. And I turned. Didn't say another word. Just walked. Marcus fell in beside me. Terry gave one last look before heading back toward his porch. Before we reached the truck, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was Malik. "Papa," he whispered. "Can I talk to you tonight?" I paused, staring back at the house one last time. "I'm coming home tonight, Malik, and tomorrow we rebuild." The flyer arrived, like a declaration. Slipped under my motel door late Saturday. Community block party, hosted by Marseille and Malika Carter. Celebrate new beginnings. I held it in my hand longer than I should have. Memories popped up, kids running through sprinklers, Rosa laughing at my burnt ribs, laughter echoing across lawns. I debated whether to go. Marcus called and reminded me. They want a show. Give them the truth. Live. I dressed simply: dark slacks, white shirt, Rosa's old watch. I tucked the folder of evidence into my jacket. When I arrived, the block had balloons, folding chairs, music, tables, stacked with food. Neighbors I used to know glanced over, awkwardly nodding. Some faces stirred old warmth. Others looked away. Down the yard stood an easel with a portrait. My steps slowed. I looked closer. There was Rosa, Delano, Malika, children around smiling, but my face wasn't there. Cut out. My eyes hit the blank spot before the crowd realized. Marcus leaned in beside me. "They cropped you out, even of that." Delano's expression cracked. He looked from the frame to me. Whispers stirred behind. Humiliation clenched tight around my chest. I said quietly, loud enough, "So in memory, they'd write me out." Terry stepped up then. My old neighbor. Strong voice. Old bones. "I know that man," he said, pointing. "He poured every brick on this block. I saw him carry beams. I saw him build that porch," Marseille snapped. "This is family business." Terry shook his head. "When you betray your own blood, it becomes everybody's business." A hush fell. Neighbors leaned forward. Some nodded. My silence bore their weight. They saw me, without me speaking. Marcus gave a signal. From behind, two people lifted a projector screen. The gathered crowd gasped. On one side, the original family photo, me in it. On the other, the edited one, me, erased. Delano stuttered. "That's not you, can't." Malika's face drained. A reporter, phone raised, asked, "Mr. Carter, why did they erase you from that portrait?" I turned to her, calm. "Because they thought I'd stay silent. Truth doesn't need permission." The crowd shifted. Some came forward, hesitant. Others glanced away, caught. Marseille recoiled, his mouth tight. Malika's lips quivered. Some neighbors approached me, hands on shoulders, gentle apologies. A few kids ran past, unaware. Marcus handed me a cup of lemonade. I took it, let the sun warm my skin. The block felt different, sight lines changed, voices changed. Then my phone rang. A media alert. "Your story is trending in Atlanta." I closed my eyes for a moment, breathed deep. "They planted seeds of lies," I whispered. "But I'm about to harvest truth." The studio doors opened into a bright white set, and I walked in steady, heart even. The crew adjusted lights, mics, cables, crawling across the floor like slow wires of fate. A producer nodded at me. It was go time. The anchor introduced me. "Mr. Rayford, many say this matter is exaggerated, a family dispute. Your view?" Camera 1 rolled. I leaned forward, voice calm. "This isn't a dispute. It's erasure. I'll show you how." Behind me, large monitors flickered alive. First, the deed with forged signatures. Next, the edited family portrait. Then, a clip they'd tried to hide. Malika's voice, clear and cold. "Let him be gone." I called attention to it. The anchor's eyes shifted. Viewers at home gasped. In that moment, I remembered church pews, my knees pressed into wood, whispering prayers. Let light break through. When the segment ended, I walked out to the plaza of the station. Dozens of neighbors, pastors, community leaders waited. Some held signs, "We remember who built that." Then I saw Uncle Terry. He raised a wooden plaque carved with my name, "The Real Builder." The crowd erupted. Before the courthouse or a judge, The community spoke. Malika arrived, flanked by her supporters. But she stepped into a new tone, not victory, but tension. A reporter yelled, "You cropped his face in your photos, why?" I answered, "Because they feared I'd still be in the picture." Shock rippled. Some in the crowd rounded toward me, nodding in solidarity. Marcus and I reached the courthouse steps. Flash bulbs, cameras, whispers. We passed through. Malika and Delano were waiting. Their faces were drawn. Marcus handed the judge a supplemental folder. Forged documents, audit trails, community statements, and that on-air admission. I stood silent as the judge called for opening remarks. When it was my turn, I said, "You will see how they erased me from a home, from history." Marcus outlined our motion. Restore title. Void all fraudulent transfers. Penalize forgery. Malika's lawyer shot. Mr. Rayford lost rights when he abandoned the property. I stood and met his eyes. I didn't walk away. They rewrote reality to push me out. The judge paused, nodded. "I'll need the notary's deposition, full email log, and a transcript of that broadcast." Marcus leaned over. "We have them cornered." Behind me, whispers of support. I felt the weight of many watching, not just for justice, but for recognition. Then, the judge recessed. Decision by week's end. I walked out. Flashing bulbs, murmurs, hands pressed to glass. Malika glared. Delano looked hollow. Marcus offered a bottle of water. I accepted. My phone rang. "Malik," he said quietly. "Papa, people online are saying ugly things about you." I raised my head. "Then let them speak," I said. "I know who I am, and we're about to remind a city." Early morning light spilled over the garden behind my restored home. 2 weeks had passed since the verdict, but the soil here still felt new. I held the formal letter from the court in my hand, its weight more than paper. The judge ruled in my favor. All fraudulent transfers nullified. Ownership and full restitution returned. In a brief note, she wrote, "Your patience taught this courtroom more than law books ever could." Marcus met me at the gate. He clasped my shoulder. "You've done it," he said. "You rebuilt more than walls." I nodded. I didn't shout. I walked down the steps, through the yard we'd replanted, and sat on the front porch quietly. I murmured, "This house was never just wood and nails, it was us." The media followed, telling a new story of resilience. The local news ran follow-ups. Schools contacted me, wanting to teach my fight in civics classes. A men's group at the church invited me to speak. That night, under dim lights, I told them, "Strength isn't hiding pain, it's walking through it." Afterward, a young man stood. His voice cracked. I didn't know men could hurt and still be strong like that. I remembered my own father's silence, how he carried years alone. That silence ended with me. I scribbled in my notebook, "It's not about what I got back, but what I gave forward." Then came an email from Malika. Not a confession, just one line. "Can Malik still visit?" I paused, then replied, "Yes. My arm's been open longer than y'all know." Saturday morning, Malik showed up. He looked lost at the gate. I walked out and opened it. We meandered through the garden in silence until he said, "I miss when we had yard sales together." I laughed. "Yeah, you always overcharged folks." He looked at me. "You mad at Mom?" I sighed. I forgave them before they ever said sorry. He hugged me hard. Something rare. Something real. In the weeks after, I launched Second Foundation, a mentorship group for men rebuilding lives. I partnered with a retired teacher and a former city planner to restore houses. Yes, but also to restore hope. Old classmates who'd mocked me showed up to help. I handed hammers instead of judgment. One man said quietly, "Seeing you still standing taught me I didn't have to fall forever." Then I hosted a block barbecue. The yard filled with neighbors, children laughing, music drifting through trees. Uncle Terry arrived last, holding a battered, taped-back family photo. He handed it to me. "Keep it this time. Now it means something." I didn't have words. I nodded. As dusk settled, I sat on the porch again. Wind stirred the chimes. Inside, Malik laughed with a kid from the block. I picked up Langston Hughes, read softly, "I too am America." I closed the book. I whispered to the evening, "They took my house, but I rebuilt a home."